So, for those that don't know, I made a tweet earlier this month. I think it was either right at the beginning of June or sometime during the first week of June. Talking about it, June being Men's Mental Health Month, and how guys should embrace it. I talked to someone, no matter who they are, whether they're a friend, family member, or doctor, or whatever. Just talk to someone about the shit you're burying, and don't lie and say you're not burying anything. And I'm fine, because you're fucking not. Because here's the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me, but in 2021, 80% of the suicides that were committed by people were men. Now, this video is just going to be me telling you my story, like I promised in that tweet. Because I did say at the end of that tweet that I would share my story either in a video or on stream. Obviously, it's in a video form. I just felt like it was going to be easier to do. That being said, I'm going to make this as short, as sweet, and possible. Now, as far back as I can remember, I didn't realize it then, but it started when I was about 16-ish. So it would have been about 2017, I think. And until I was 18, so roughly 2 years later, when I graduated high school, that's when I started to realize I was depressed. And at the same time, I thought I was just burnt out. So I was 50-50 on it. You feel like you're burnt out, you're just, moping around, you just bored, you don't know what to do, you're like, oh, I'm bored of this show, or I'm bored of that movie, or I'm bored of doing this sport, or I'm bored of that video game, or whatever, right? You're just like, oh, I'm not interested in that. When in reality, you're probably a little depressed. Now, fast forwarding to 2019, I am 18 years old and just graduated. Now, from the moment I graduated, I worked for pretty much the year going forward, except for the fact there was about 4 months, give or take, where I was actually completely laid up in bed because I screwed up my right ankle at work. I completely bent the thing 90 degrees, so to speak, for I think a couple ligaments and tendons, I recall. Sorry, it was a while ago. Don't really remember, but obviously with an injury, you can imagine you're not in the best headspace. I for sure wasn't at all. Again, going into that kind of scenario, realizing, shit, I'm actually doing pretty bad. I'm not there. I'm depressed. I don't feel good about myself. I hate myself. Moving forward, my foot heals. Months later, I then get laid off. Fine. I use that opportunity to then go to college. So I go to college that year, and cut to roughly mid-October, end of October, coming back from Walmart. And I remember this because this was the first time I ever had a thought about unaliving myself. Now, obviously I don't say that lightly, but what I want to point out with this is, even if you think you're depressed, or know that's depressed, or even if you don't know you're depressed and have that kind of headspace going on, or mindset going on, it can happen anytime when you have that voice in your head. Some people don't, and that's just how they are. For me, though, I went from listening to some music, driving home, and I'm driving past a tree near a light post on the right-hand side of the road. I'm about to drive by it, when all of a sudden I hear, I don't know, I hear this weird voice in my head, and all of a sudden I hear this voice in my head going, it would be so peaceful if you just yank the wheel to the right now. Like I said, I don't say any of this lightly, and I mean that. People should know how bad it can get, and the fact that it can come out of nowhere. Completely out of nowhere, in fact, just like that. I went from listening to music to glancing in that tree and light post direction, and all of a sudden, that's the thought that comes into my head, and that's all I hear. How is that right? Because I can tell you for a fucking fact it ain't. So fast forwarding a couple more months to December, from October to this point, I've been having those thoughts nonstop, every day. And there's a notebook somewhere. I actually wrote down how many times I thought about that stuff in a day, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. And if I remember correctly, it was about 15, maybe 16 times. Now what? The average person is awake for what? 14, 15 hours, give or take? Roughly one in every hour. The worst part about this is it just got worse. Now, when I got to my parents' place for Christmas, I think I was there for about 3 weeks. And when you're in that headspace, you tend to put on a mask without really thinking about it, as a self-defense mechanism. Now, I know that there was definitely a few family members that saw through it and saw there was something going on and just didn't know the extent. It wasn't until January I finally brought myself to get a counselor from my school. You know, they had a free program and it was going good. The first couple sessions, I will admit, I broke down in complete tears, and I was I was like that even after the call, probably 2 or 3 hours after each call until the third or fourth session. And that's when I went into how bad my depression and mindset was, and told him about the day where I wrote everything down, and how I thought about different ways to unalive myself 15 times that day. Now, of course, fast forwarding a few more months, things got better. I was talking about stuff. I was being more open. I was getting stuff off my chest. I felt better. I was more happy. Like, it was working. It was, and it still does. At the time, I wasn't even on medication, so I was doing everything naturally or organically, however you want to describe that, which was good. It was really good. Then about 8 months down the road, I was working with my brother at the time. It's now January of 2022. Going home from work, flipped on a little patch of black ice on the sidewalk, completely dislocated in my knee, tore a few ligaments and tendons, damaged some nerves, and I ended up moving back in with my parents. And I went back to my lovely old self. So during that time, about 5 months worth of recovery time, during all that recovery time and everything going on and everything I was going through in general, that's when I got really bad. I mean, in college, when I had those thoughts 15 times in a day, that was nothing compared to what it was when I was months into recovery. And I say that because my stepmom has MS, multiple sclerosis. And I just want to say before I go any further, I don't blame anyone. I blame myself. I blame my head. I blame my mind. Stepmom has to take medication for her disease. And a lot of it is medication to help with pain. So she's not in pain every minute of every day. And I mean agonizing pain. So we're talking about very, very high level painkillers and stuff like that. So, use your imagination. Started counting the one day and I didn't finish it because I couldn't. I couldn't look at it. I think I got to 24 times the thoughts happened. And I was barely even half a day through. And at the time I was awake for about 14 hours. You can imagine how bad it actually was. Just do a little bit of math there. Because all it would take was a handful of pills, glass of water, down the hatch, wait an hour, and the only thing that would be left on this earth would be my body. A couple more months later, I think we're talking middle of summer. I am seeing a therapist that my doctor provided, and talking through some stuff. Some of the same stuff I talked about with the counselor I got through my college. Kind of getting back to the same point I was at before I hurt myself. And that's about the same time I went on medication. Now, medication isn't for everybody. Some people refuse to take it. They don't want to do it. They want to do it the natural, organic way. For me, I never wanted to chance that shit again. Never. I got myself put on some medication, and it was good. It helped for a while. I was good for months, and I still am good. Even months down the line, when later that year, 2022, I ended up moving in with my then girlfriend. Mental health went downhill a little bit. Went through a breakup, all that kind of stuff. Now in 2023, it is June 30th to be exact, and doing a hell of a lot better. Now, obviously, there's stuff I left out, just because, not really necessary. But what I want to get across to you is the fact that, one, get help if you need it. Even if you have the tiniest little idea of, maybe if I talk to someone, I might feel a little bit better. Because if you don't, the reality of it is you will become a statistic. If you're in that position, you need to talk to someone. And if you don't, I do have another thing. I have another idea. If you don't feel like you're ready to talk to someone, or you don't want to feel embarrassed, or if you don't want to feel scared and you just want to do something to try and feel better, I suggest one thing, and my therapist told me to do this. Journal. Now, I'd say I started journaling about a year ago, give or take. Like, actually journaling. And I say it like that because I tried in the past when I was in college. I tried it for one day and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. No. Grab this. Fucking hell, go to the dollar store, man. Go to the 99-cent store, if you're in America. Whatever. Go grab one. Okay? Hell, if you got some loose paper from a fucking printer, that'll work. Get something to write on. Some sort of paper. a pen or a pencil, start writing. Now, some people might say, oh, well, journaling's hard. How do you do it? I'll tell you. This is because this is how I do it. And I try to do mine daily, if not every few days. Start out, write your date, and start by writing how your day's been. Like, what events took place? What thoughts happened in your head today? What led to those thoughts? What led to these events? Did you have a good day or a bad day? Just write about it. You got to think about it like you're writing your biography. Even though today's the last day of June, last day of Men's Mental Health Month, which is why I'm wearing blue, by the way. If you guys didn't know, blue is the color for Men's Mental Health Month. Obviously now I'm a hell of a lot better, but I'm still going to live with it. And that's the reality of it. Some people can get over it and get past everything and just crush it to nothing. For me, I still have my days every now and then and I'm medicated. It is what it is. Just get help if you need it, please. You have 365 days in a year. Any one of those days, you can choose to get help. There's no excuse. Not a single fucking excuse. If you're really set on you're too scared or you're too nervous, you don't want to seem weak, you don't want to just have all the stigma surrounding you of getting help, grab a journal, grab some paper, grab a pen or a pencil, start writing. Get some stuff off your chest. At least just get it off your chest and onto paper. It helps, trust me. Now lastly, I hope my story gives you a little bit of courage or a little bit of inspiration to go out and get some help, just to make you realize that you're not alone. You got this. I promise you got this. You can get through it.